We are here with one of our very own, the executive chef from this hotel, Heshan Peris. Heshan, welcome back to our show again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
And tell us what you're going to do today.
Yeah, so today we're doing something a little bit different. We're doing a Moroccan, Middle Eastern inspired dish, a lamb dish. So it's a shamula roasted lamb loin.
So no Sri Lankan food.
No Sri Lankan food
You're
today.
up.
No, nothing. Sorry guys, no Sri Lankan food today. So we're going to do a shamula roasted lamb loin. Actually, it's a lamb noisette actually. And I'm going to serve that with a warm bean salad. Nice flavours in there, nice, quite robust flavours in there. So I'll show you guys through how to make the paste. We'll actually show you how to tie the lamb noisette itself. And then the salad's quite simple, assemble it together.
Please go through the ingredients and take over the kitchen. I'll come back later.
No worries, thank you. So let's start with the ingredients. The first ingredient we have is our lamb noisette. It's a little bit like the lamb loin. It's quite nice, quite meaty. It's a very tender piece of meat as well. So you'll find the flavours are quite gentle with that one. To make our shamula paste, we have some olive oil, mint, garlic, onion, coriander, parsley, paprika, coriander powder, cumin, turmeric. I have some butcher's twine to tie up our lamb noisette. Okay, so for our salad, we have some green beans, shallots, tomatoes, olives, and some lemon. Okay, so we're going to start with the first step, which is to tie up our lamb noisette. Now, the reason why we tie the lamb noisette itself, even though it's a nice round piece of meat, when we do roast this, you will find that it'll unfurl itself, and what you'll find is the meat starts to evaporate a lot of those juices. We want to try and keep all the juices in, and also we want to try and keep the meat actually quite uniform and cylindrical. So the first step is, I have our butcher's twine here. Okay, what we're going to do is make a little knot at the top of the meat. So it's a bit like a little noose. Okay, so that's our little noose. And then this noose goes over our meat here. And we just pull that noose down. And try and get it as tight as possible, but not as tight to cut through the meat. So now the next step is to hold our twine up, give a couple of turns. Now this technique does take a little bit of practicing, but once you've got it down packed, you'll find it's a lot easier and a very quick process. Now this isn't something you just have to do with lamb. You can do this with beef. You can do the same technique with pork. Any red meat that you need to, or white meat such as pork, that you need to tie, you can use this technique. So once our meat is tied, I'll just cut off the excess. And now this piece of meat is ready for our pan.
Well, Heshan, what's the next step? Okay,
so the next step is we're going to seal our lamb here. Now you can see we've got this beautiful bit of fat here. Now I know some people get a bit scared off by fat, but this is all flavour. But what we do want to do is try and render as much of that fat down as possible and get it nice and brown and golden as well. So that's what we're going to do first. So into our hot pan, fat side down first. I'm going to let that brown off. Now, I have a bit of a luxury being in such a big hotel. I have a big team of chefs that assist me all day. So what I'm going to do is, while this seals up, I'm going to pass this to my assistant, Heshan, and he will keep on cooking this for us, and I'll get us started on the next part of this dish, which is the shamula paste. Heshan? All right. So the next component of this dish is, like I said from the start, we're going to try and impart a Moroccan Middle Eastern flavour into this. So we're going to make a paste which is called a shamula paste. There are different variations of this this paste itself, but this is my version of it. It's quite fresh, it's quite refreshing. It has some robust flavours that does give it a bit of a kick, but not too spicy. You can add chilies to it if you wish, but that's completely up to you. And we're just going to rub that on our meat, and we're going to roast the whole thing together. So let's get started on that. So now I have a little blender, which I like to put all our ingredients into. We have some coriander, which goes in there first. Parsley. Onion. Garlic. Mint. Okay, so now we're going to add our spices. We have some cumin, coriander powder, paprika and turmeric. So in with all our cumin, coriander powder. These are all about a spoonful each of our paprika. Now turmeric, you don't want to go too overboard on this. We don't want our mix to be completely yellow, so I'll just put a touch of turmeric in here. And now this gets pureed all together in our blender, and what will happen is when we get to a paste, I'll go through the next step with you. Okay, so we have our puree of our ingredients that went in before to make our chamula paste. What I've actually done is constantly added more olive oil just to bind it and get it quite wet. You don't want it too thick, you do want it to be a pasty consistency so you can actually rub it. Now, what I do from here, it's a little bit different, is I now cook this ingredient, this mix off. The reason I do that is because there's a lot of raw ingredients like garlic, onion. When you do put it in the oven or in a fry pan, you don't get to cook all those ingredients out. So what I like to do is get it nice and brown a little bit, and that's the final paste. And what we're going to do now is cook this off till it gets nice and brown. Okay, so this is kind of the colour I'm looking for. It's nice and brown, not too, not over caramelized. It is, it's just got those flavours, golden brown. A lot of those cumin and the coriander powder is just toasted off, giving a nice aromatic flavour. So what I'm going to do now is marinate our lamb with our chamula paste. Okay, so that's now covered completely. Now you can now marinate this longer in the fridge if you like. Because we have sealed it, you won't get a mass penetration that you would with raw. But the reason why we actually sealed this first and then marinated it is we don't want our paste to burn when we seal it the first time. I'm going to go straight into our fry pan. And now we're not sealing this completely like we did last time. We're just getting this nice and brown, just getting that coating to stick onto our lamb a bit more. If we need to add some more paste, add some more paste. This lamb is perfect, it's ready, it's only toasted off for a little bit. We don't want too much colour on it, so this will go in the oven. I've got this set at 190, and it'll probably only take about 15 minutes, and we'll just get started on our warm bean salad. So let me start off by warming our green beans through. So I've just got that in some water, a little bit of salt, some chopped shallots into our bowl, not too much, our diced tomato, a little bit of sliced olives. Now the olives give a nice little bit of saltiness and a little bit of earthiness as well. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm actually going to chop some mint through this, nice and fine. Now you can tear this. I like to do it a bit finer. Mint and lamb is a classic pairing, so I've got to have mint in my dish somehow. So in with our mint. Now our green beans have been warmed through, so our green beans will go in now. So that's where the warmness comes through. Okay, and what I like to do now is a squeeze of lemon, a little bit of olive oil. We're pretty much making a dressing on its own, and I'm going to put a touch of salt in there as well. Okay, that's pretty much perfect to how I want this, to medium. Now, what we're going to do is let it rest. Key part of the cooking process is letting your meat rest. What actually happens is now we want those juices to come back out because all the proteins have tightened up during the cooking process. We're going to let them relax and come together, and that's where you'll find a perfect, well-rested piece of meat. If we don't rest this now and cut into it, you'll find the blood will just start pouring out the meat, and you'll get a very messy looking plate, and the meat will dry up very quickly. So by letting it rest, we're letting the meat get back to juiciness, not getting a dry piece of meat, and getting a nice tender piece of meat. So that'll take about 5 minutes. During that time, let's start the plate up process. All right, so we're going to start with our warm green bean salad. Just putting that down on our plate, just scatter around. What we're going to do is try and get the meat to nicely rest on top of that. It's like a little bed for it. Nice and pink, exactly how we want it. Let's just take our meat, sit on top of our green bean salad there. So just to finish off, I like to just use a little bit of olive oil. I haven't selected a sauce to go with this. The flavors are quite robust. Adding a sauce will kind of take away from the dish itself. Squeeze a lemon, just fine on its own, just like that. It works great. So that's our lamb noisette with our warm green bean salad, with our chamula rub. I hope you enjoy it. It's a great flavors. Keithy, what do you think?
Well, that sounds good and smells good. Also, I'm sure the taste good.
Yeah.
Well, Heshan, thank you very much.
No, thanks for having me.
And I'm sure we'll see Heshan again in our kitchen very soon. And that's all for the day. We'll see you again with a new recipe next week. Bye for now.
See you later.